Hey everybody, in this video we're going to be solving non-right triangles using sine, cosine, and tangent. So what we're going to be given is we're going to be given triangles that aren't right triangles, but we're going to work with them as though they are. So if you want to follow along, links to the companion worksheet are in the description below. So here with this one, we want to solve this triangle. So we want to figure out what is angle R, what is RS, and what is ST. Now angle R we can figure out very quickly. We can subtract from 180, 23 degrees, and 34 degrees. So I'm not going to worry about that. We'll get that quickly at the end. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw down this altitude. Now you can always draw down from any point, you can always draw down this perpendicular. A lot of people get hung up on the idea that, well, if you don't see it, it's not there. You can always add it. That's no problem. And this is kind of the clincher. We need to know what this is in order to figure out the rest of this. And so what this has done is this has broken this triangle into two right triangles. So over here, I've got this right triangle. And over here, I've got this right triangle. So let's focus on this one on the left. So let's see. H is opposite 23 degrees, and 20 is the hypotenuse. So that means sine of 23 degrees is going to equal h over 20. So that means the height is 20 sine of 23 degrees. Now since I'm actually going to need to work with this number, I'm going to have to find an approximate number. So type in my calculator, 20 sine of 23, and we get approximately 7.815. All right, now let's see. Well, we can figure out what this part is right here. We can figure out what that is. I'll just call that x. And we can find that by using another trig ratio. We'll use cosine this time. So cosine of 23 degrees equals x over 20. So when we multiply the 20 over, we get 20 cosine of 23 degrees equals x. And will get us an approximate. So 20 cosine of 23 is approximately 18.41. Now that's not degrees, that's just length. All right, now we could figure out this, but again, we'll find angle R at the very end. So now what we have to do is we have to switch over to the triangle on the right. Now the issue is we don't know any of the other sides, but we do know h. We do know that h is the value we found over here. So let's call this length from here to here. We'll call this y. So that means that tangent of 34 degrees equals h, but we know what h is. H is 7.815 over y. So we'll multiply out the y. So y times tangent of 34 degrees equals 7.815, and then we'll divide by tangent. So we get 7.815 divided by tangent of 34 degrees. And we'll get ourselves an approximate value, 7.815 divided by tangent of 34. And so that is 11.586. So then, going back up to here, now we need this. And we'll just call it z. So to find z, we'll say, all right, well, we know h, we know the angle 34, z is the hypotenuse, so we'll use sine. So sine of 34 degrees equals h, which we know, 7.815 over z. So we'll multiply out the z, so we get z times sine of 34 degrees equals 7.815, and then we divide. So we have 7.815 divided by sine of 34 degrees. And so that is approximately 13.975. All right. So now at this point, we're able to write down our answers because we need to know what is RS. Well, RS is just the value of Z that we found. And so RS is right here, 13.975. And then we need to know ST. So ST is just X and Y added together. So if I take X, which is 18.41, and add Y, which is 11.586, we get our values for ST, which is 29.996. And then finally, to get angle R, we just subtract 180 degrees minus the two angles we know, minus 23 degrees minus 34 degrees. And so by doing that, we get 123 degrees. And so now we've solved our triangle because now we've found all the sides and all the angles that weren't provided. All right. So now if we move on to the next one, the issue becomes that it seems like we're presented a totally different triangle. But in reality, we're not. Most people are sort of stuck in the idea that the height always has to be drawn up and down, and the base is always on the bottom. Well, that's not true. I can turn it this way, and now this is my base. Or I could turn it this way, and this is my base. And that's actually what I'm going to do. I'm actually going to treat this as my base. And so if I cut this down like that, that's what I'm going to use for my height, for my altitude. And so we've got this triangle right here. So let's solve for h. So to do that, we're going to use sine. So sine of 36 degrees, because even though the triangle is somewhat upside down, 36 and h are opposite, and 14 is the hypotenuse. So we have h over 14. So if I multiply by 14, 14 sine of 36 degrees equals h. And I'm definitely going to need that number. So 14 sine of 36, and we get 8.229. So now, let's find this length here. That'll be x. So x is adjacent to 36 degrees. So we'll say cosine of 36 degrees equals x over 14. So if we multiply the 14 over, 14 cosine of 36 degrees equals x. And so x is approximately 11.326. Now, we know that this entire angle is 113, but we need to ask, how does it break down? What is this angle up here? Well, if I just cover this up, these three have to add up to 180. So if I subtract 90 and 36, that'll give me this portion of the angle. So 180 minus 90 minus 36 gives me 54 degrees. So then, what is this angle? Well, this plus this has to add up to 113. So if I take 113 and subtract 54, we get 59 degrees. So now that leaves us to find this part of this triangle and this side of that triangle. And so y is opposite of 59 and z is the hypotenuse. So let's see. If we want to find y, we're going to use tangent of 59 degrees, and that's going to equal y over h. But again, we found h. H is right over here, 8.229. So when we multiply that out, 8.229 times tangent of 59 degrees, that's going to equal y. And so y is approximately 8.229 tangent of 59 degrees, and that's going to be about 13.695. And then for z, well, we know h is adjacent to this angle, and z is the hypotenuse, so we'll use cosine. So cosine of 59 degrees equals h, which we know, 8.229 over z. So we multiply out the z. So z times cosine of 59 degrees, that equals 8.229, and then we divide. So we get 8.229 over cosine of 59. And so as an approximate value, that's going to be, let's do that, and we get 15.977. All right. So we've found x, y, and z. So now we found all the pieces to solve this triangle. So we have two sides that we don't know and an angle that we don't know. So HP is this bottom side, and that's just equal to z. That's 15.977. KP, that's going to be x and y added together. So if I take x, which is 11.326, and add y, that's 13.695, we get 25.021. There we go. And then finally, angle P is what we get when we subtract 180 minus 113 minus 36. And we get 31 degrees. So on the next one, here, this one's a little bit more difficult because here we will draw the height, and we're not going to turn the triangle around. We're going to draw the height from right here. But the issue is it falls outside the triangle. So how does that work? Well, we're just going to extend this triangle over like that. Now, this angle is 123. So what is this? Well, it's the supplement. So when we subtract 180 minus 123, we get 57 degrees. And so to find our height, we're going to write this as sine of 57 degrees equals h over 27. And hopefully by this point you're sort of getting into the habit of seeing that h is always the hypotenuse, 27, times sine of the angle. It's just always going to be that anytime you're dealing with a right triangle. So when we find our height is 22.644. And so when we look for x down below, this means that we're going to use cosine. So cosine of 57 degrees, that equals x over 27. So x equals 27 cosine of 57 degrees. So approximately, we have 14.705. Now, this was one triangle. The other triangle we have to think of, the other right triangle that is this one right here. From here to here and there. We have to think of that as a right triangle. Now the issue is that we don't have either angle here. So the way we work with this is we say, okay, well we know this side and we know this side. So that means tangent of whatever h is has to be h. Well, wait a minute. We know h. H is 22.644 over 44. So if I want to solve for h, the angle, that's just going to be arctangent of that ratio, 22.644 over 44. And we get an angle for angle h of 27.232 degrees. So what that allows us then to do is that then allows us to find this length right there. And we'll call this length y. So cosine, because y is adjacent to h, of 27.232 degrees equals y over 44. So y equals 44 times cosine of 27.232 degrees. And so y is an approximate value of 39.123. All right, so at this point we have enough information to state what everything is solved for our triangle, because we need side HP. Now HP is the value of y minus x, because x is the part that hangs over that we don't want to count. So I have to take y and subtract x. So 39.123, and I subtract 14.709. Or 705 rather, and that's going to be 24.418, and that's the one side we don't know. Now to the angles. Well, we found angle H, that is 27.232 degrees, and angle K, well, if we know the other two angles, we can just subtract from 180. So 180 minus the one angle we were given, 123, minus the angle we found, 27.232. And we get an angle of 29.768 degrees. So anytime you have to solve a triangle that's not a right triangle, you always want to draw the height, whether it's inside the triangle or outside the triangle. Thanks for watching. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. For more videos like this, click the subscribe button. If you have suggestions or problems you want to see worked out, type a comment below. To support the channel, click the Patreon link to help keep this going. Thanks so much for watching, and remember, the best way to understand something is to do it.